Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcoring Guides, bringing my guide for Dead Space on Impossible Difficulty. Today we are doing Chapter 7, entitled Into the Void. We are getting quite close to being done with the game. This is going to be like, what, 6 more to go? Did my game just glitch up, or was I seeing things? Might have been the video, I don't know. So this is going to be the first chapter where we start heading down to the engineering side of things, or the mining / engineering. I think we kind of like go between both. I don't remember specifically, it's been a bit since I've done this, because this is like weeks old now, and I know that I was out for a while, and a lot of the reason why was there's been a lot of, appointments I have to take care of and do things. I had an ear problem for a little while, and I just wanted to go get that taken care of. Having trouble hearing out of the right side of my ear, but then I eventually, took some peroxide inside of it, and that kind of helped a little bit, and then now I take eardrops for a little bit, so yeah, for a while there, my entire, head and everything was just kind of off. So, not mentally, I'm talking about, just, physically. I was physically off, getting dizzy and all kinds of things. It was just a travesty. But that's enough about me, and now it's time to talk about the Dead Space guide. So we're going to be heading, of course, down to engineering or mining or whatever it was. I think this is like both in one. I don't remember. I don't think they separated in Dead Space 1. Like I said, it's been a hot minute since I played it. So there's that. I guess we're heading up to processing first, I think. But yeah, upon your first arrival on the elevator, I think we go on the elevator 2 or 3 times, but the first time that you spawn, or the first time that you are on the elevator, a couple of slashers are going to spawn from the ceiling. I'd recommend just staying in a corner and just kind of keeping an eye on the middle section, because they usually seem to kind of spawn there. The first group of enemies are going to be slashers, and then after that, the next time we come on the elevator should be the lurkers, and then they're going to appear on the walls. But since I'm running Force Gun, at this point in time of the guide, I kind of expect people are probably running that too, or at least have a secondary of their choice. And realistically speaking, I don't really need to do much of a potential guide here on explaining how to defeat slashers at this point. I think we're pretty much kind of past that. I would assume by now, if you've gotten this far in Impossible mode, you probably know how to handle your guns relatively well, and you know how to take care of limbs and stuff. So maybe I should probably just stop worrying about talking about how to deal with them, and instead just maybe talk about specific areas where you could just stand at, or potential cheeses or potential things that you can do, which I cannot wait for my next guide to start, because I have some pretty fun cheeses that actually ended up happening that I found. Anyway, so next group of enemies, just gonna be a slasher and then a pregnant, and these ones are typically relatively simple to take down. Nothing too difficult. There's gonna be a lot of enemies though too, so that's why I kind of just stay back near the elevator. That way I can have a potentially better advantage point, so I don't get caught up inside the little maze area, these little hallways. Because right here, for instance, I didn't expect there to be another Necro, and I think that guy has a tail growing on him, or at least that's his spine coming out of him. That's pretty sick. So yeah, I didn't think that I was gonna get caught off guard by another enemy, but then I did, and that's kind of why I recommend running up and then having the enemy spawn and then run back to a point where you kind of have been to and you feel comfortable, especially with your back. Having your back be protected, as in nobody's gonna spawn from there, because I don't think they're gonna respawn from the elevator section. I don't believe so. That sounds a little bit weird if they did, but I mean, I never went to check because I'm a bad guidesman. But that's just how things are. But yeah, make sure all your your areas surrounding you are kind of covered from that is what I recommend. Coming up here, there's a few dangerous spots. This next section is going to be a little bit rough, especially with the amount of enemies that are going to spawn. The first guy that spawns in, of course, in the hallway is just the slasher. I think he spawns in the same vent every single time. I don't think it's changed. But once we start going to the zero gravity section, is when things are going to get a bit tough. So I think the Leapers spawn after a couple of asteroids. have been shot out of the ship, you know, when you burn them out. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of just hankering on the outside and trying to like stay near the door, because I'm thinking like, yeah, I was gonna say like I'm pretty sure they spawned in, but you saw a hard cut right there, and I pretty much died twice, and I think I just give up on that. But something I do want to say though is like, don't, you know, all because I died there doesn't mean that I can't just give you, you know, some tips of it. You can stay near the door before you go in, and they shouldn't be able to get inside this little hole. They might be able to, but for the most part, I never had a moment where they did. Like you can see right here, like I'm just kind of standing near the door, so I guess I did stick with the strat. Because a lot of the time, I usually just kind of go out and fight them, because it's just a couple of leapers and a couple of lurkers, but they're not that troublesome. Because this is Dead Space 1 after all. This is not Dead Space 2. In Dead Space 2, things change a bit. Things get a little bit harder to handle. Enemies become a little bit more interesting. That's for sure. So, but in Dead Space 1, for the most part, Leapers are kind of dumb. In my opinion, I don't know. I've always kind of found Leapers just kind of dumb. They're a little bit more easier to kind of control than the other enemies are. And, yeah, also, I don't recommend staying out here too long. You know, just kind of like run in, see where they're at, and then run back out if you feel kind of threatened. Like, you feel like you're going to get attacked. Because, see right here is like I waited just long enough. I waited a little bit too long, but I still waited long enough for them to start spawning in. Oh god, there's 4 of them. I think there's actually 5 or 6. I might be wrong. But I got lucky enough to where they were all on one side, and they eventually just kind of clung to the left side wall here. Or the right side wall, excuse me. So, you know, I had a pretty good advantage on taking them down. I did get hit, and I did take a hell of a hit, though. But I'm still rocking level 2 suit, so I'm kind of weak. But I have plenty of health packs at this point. Of course, if you don't have health packs, I recommend not getting hit. But if you do have the money for it, then you'll buy, you know, at least a small or maybe even like a medium. I also recommend, for those that haven't watched my guide yet, I also recommend having, at the very least, not only like 10,000 credits, 5,000 to 10,000 credits, I should say that instead, on hand at all times. But, of course, a power node, one power node, you know, on you at all times. Because usually, like, in between a shop and a power node door is usually just like, well, a shop. So that's what I meant to say. Like between every like power node door, there's like another shop. But yeah, I also recommend having like at least maybe like a medium health pack on hand, especially when you're starting to run like the higher tier suits, just in the off chance that, you know, you might accidentally get hit. Because trying to no damage Dead Space 1 is very possible. It's just I'm not capable of doing that yet. Or at least haven't gone on my way to try it. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the little lurkers. But once you start kind of like jumping around, I think he spawns on the other side of the field, I believe. I think once you start going to the other side is when he spawns in. At least it seems like that's what the case is. And I forgot to get the item from him, but, you know, that's kind of just a goofy mistake of mine. Behind us, I think, is a node door, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm checking to see if I have stuff. Guess we'll find out. So, something that's going to happen right now is we're about to get attacked by waves. The first enemies are going to spawn from the left side here, and it's going to be a pregnant, and it's going to be a explosive. We're just going to call them that. Take out the pregnant and the explosive first. Just try to go for, you know, shooting the explosive hand itself, and then immediately just turn back to your right and take out these next couple of slashers, and then, you know, take out the next guy. This is a good point. When my original playthrough of Impossible Mode, I ran Force Gun here as well, and it came in so handy. So if you're struggling with this part and you're running Plasma Cutter, and you don't have a Force Gun, I'd recommend, you know, grabbing one, because it does wonders on this section. If the enemies also get kind of a little bit overwhelming and you're kind of just stuck, you know, stasis works. And another thing too is I think there's only 4 waves of enemies, as in like, they spawn from the left, then they spawn from the right, then they spawn from the left, and then they spawn from the right. So I'm pretty much kind of covered from the back for right now. I don't think any more spawn after this. Okay, no, I was wrong. There was another one that spawns. Okay. Well, you know, it's okay to be wrong every once in a while. It's been a while since I've watched these, so even though I just edited them, but I wasn't paying too much attention. I was just kind of just editing out the deaths and stuff. Yeah, so from what it seems like, it spawns left, then it spawns right, and then it spawns left, and then it spawns right, and then there's like one extra little one that spawns on the left. So if they start getting hectic, and you're like on the fourth wave, you can kind of push back either like the third wave or the fourth wave and just kind of make your way back out of the door, because this thing does circle around. So you can kind of find your way around, and then eventually, if things are getting too hard, you could do that. Real quick, hang on one sec. Alright. Sorry, there was something in my throat once again. I have to clear it all the time, it seems, no matter what I do. So, yeah. Again, like 4-wave spawn. It's a bit difficult sometimes when you don't know where they're spawning from, and you don't know how many of them are. There's really not that many. Like I said, left, right. And then on top of that, you can shoot the explosive pods, or what are they called? I know they're not called pods, they're called something else. You can shoot them just to take out most of the enemies. And of course, if one's starting to run toward you, shoot them in the legs. Or, of course, go for force gun. Even though I said earlier I probably shouldn't explain exactly how to deal with a specific enemy type, but yeah. Force gun works wonders. Contact beam also does pretty good for AoE, but in my opinion, I feel like the force gun, especially upgraded, does wonders. And I haven't really run the pulse rifle enough to really say, but I feel like the pulse rifle secondary fire, I've never used it that much, so I don't feel like it probably would be too good against a group of enemies, but I mean, I could be wrong, so I don't know. Also, this has nothing to do with the guide, but on my right, on my other computer right now, on my other monitor, there's a picture of a character from like a recent anime that came out. And oh, hang on. So yeah, we gotta leave it at spawns. I think it's just him, and then like one more maybe. I can't remember. I think it's just a couple of these guys. Okay, anyway. So yeah, I think this is either like a fan art or it's from the actual show. I'm not sure. But what's bothering me right now is her left eye, because she's kind of like tilted toward the screen, like she's kind of tilted facing toward the screen, but kind of like slightly tilted away, looking away, like in like a diagonal. I can't speak direction. And her left eye, like, it's, how do I explain this? It's like it's not curved around her head. It's just kind of like sticking out of her head. That's bothering me. Like, eyelashes and eyebrows are one thing, but like when you actually have the entire, iris itself, not the iris, but the, what do you call it? Like the white around your eye. I think that is the iris, I believe, or cornea. I can't remember. I'm supposed to know this. I'm supposed to be an artist, quote unquote, and I don't even know this. Also, infectors. If you want more stuff, you can always let them just kind of infect and just get it that way. I also recommend just kind of like staying to this little small hub area here, because they both end up kind of spawning in to where you can, get a good view on them. That thing also exploded. I didn't even notice that until now, but that thing did explode, and I would have gotten hit by it if I was dumb, but there's also that. You can also, hang to the right and grab this little pod thing and shoot at them, but I don't think that does much anyway, so. But yeah, the whole eye thing is just kind of bugging the hell out of me. Like, it's literally outside of the line of the head, and it's like, I'm over here, struggling to get eyes to like curve around heads and shit, and then we've got this. I'm not shitting on anybody's heart, I don't care, and I really don't think anybody does. I remember one time, hang on, I'll talk about that in a second. I'd also recommend, real quick, just quick tip, keep these explosive barrels around. Don't pick them up and use them on the pods like I did. I kind of forgot about the lurkers spawning in later, so that's kind of my fault. But if you don't have the ammo for it and you want to take them out, then you can. You can also like move around, like back and forth, or basically rotate around in a circle, and that should avoid most of the pod shots. But they're still just a little bit dangerous. And of course, using the elevator as cover could work too. But if you're like me and you have at least enough plasma cutter ammo to take out a few shots, it should be enough. A secondary shot from the force gun is enough to take one out too. Again, I don't know why I bothered using explosives. I'm dumb. Of course, it's a goddamn bug. Right when I'm recording too. Son of a bitch. It's just a ladybug, so it's not like a big deal. But they've been infesting my house. It's pissing me off. So yeah, just don't use explosives too much. Try to keep them for like the lurkers for later and what have you. Fuck me. I hate dealing with bugs, man. They're annoying.
Is that really you?
Kind of forgot to cut this part out, actually. Oops. Yikes.
But I can help you now. Come with me.
What was I gonna talk about a second ago before I forgot? Something about art, right? Yes, Mitsuru from P3, Persona 3. There's an image out there where a person drew her with 3 legs instead of 2, and it was an accidental mistake, but it's just kind of funny to think about. I'm tempted just to get up and just go smack that damn thing, because I'm right here, and it's just making noise. I mean, it's in the blinds. It's not like it's come out yet, but it's going to, I'm sure, at some point. And we still have like half a video left to go through. And I don't want to have to sit here and listen to that damn thing. Like, of all times, you know, they have to start spawning in when I'm recording. So, alright, this next spot, speaking of, you know, spawning in, if Nicole gets hit too many times, she will die. But the first enemy, they're going to spawn near Nicole. And, of course, you want to limit how many times she gets shot. This is why I also run Force Gun as well, just because like, I feel like it's just very versatile. And the reason why is because mainly, you know, the whole grenade across the room shot. There was an explosive barrel that I did take with me, and I think I did just... Okay, I kept it around. This is, I recommend using that for, like, whenever they start to kind of, like, spawn in too much, like, there's just too many across the way. And after you take out, like, 3 of them, one of them's going to spawn, and then another one's going to spawn across the way. And, of course, you know, use stasis if you're on either side, you know, really. Use stasis on either side, you know, if you're getting kind of overwhelmed. But use the explosive, the first explosive, like, on the ones near Nicole, because they start to kind of get a little bit grouped up, and there becomes kind of a bit of a problem there. I think I shot a grenade shot. I think that's what that was. That's kind of a dumb idea. I don't know why I'm using grenade shots when it does, I think, almost the same amount of damage as a regular shot. Maybe a little bit more. But yeah, grenade shots from the Force Gun work wonders here, because you can sort of just kind of set them up to where, like, because they do work on contact, but at the same time, like, if you wanted to, you could have them just kind of sitting there until the enemy kind of runs up to it and then gets hit by it. So there's that too, if you wanted to do that. If anything, I just go take care of this little bug right now and cut out the commentary. I could do that. Well, I don't know. I don't see him right now, so might be a bit before I do that. Might be worth doing. Letting the video kind of play. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the next room is just a little bit tricky. Mainly because, like, you got to focus on, like, 2 sides of it. I recommend making Nicole your main priority. You definitely want to make sure that her side's protected. And if you start getting overwhelmed, just use Force Gun and knock him back. Or particularly any gun that you definitely know for sure, you know, can do wonders against them. Sorry. So now we're going to head back, and this is where the Force Gun once again becomes quite handy for me, is the grenade launcher. Mainly because, like, the grenade launcher itself is really damn good against, like, lurkers, because as you can see, like, it just knocked it straight on its ass. Sure, it didn't do, like, a ton of damage. It didn't knock off, like, all of its, you know, limbs, but it still took it out in, like, 2 shots, which is still pretty good. And I think I have relatively, like, decent damage on it. I think that one just got hit once and died. And then coming up, I believe it's going to be a slasher that spawns in front of us, or at least a couple of slashers. And this is where, once again, Force Gun, you know, kind of works out well for me, is I could just blast them away with, you know, a couple grenade shots. And I'm just wasting away my stasis, just because. That's another thing too, is even though I'm wasting away mine and I'm using stasis packs to get it back, that shouldn't limit you from you using the quote-unquote cheat codes. I mean, that's pretty much what they are, actually. That's technically what they are. They're actually cheat codes. So, like, if you wanted to, and I know I said this before, and by now people probably might know this, but, you know, just in case I'll say it again, there is, of course, you know, cheat codes that you can use to get your stasis back infinitely. And, of course, there's, like, you know, codes for, like, money and stuff. I recommend looking them up. I think the code for stasis is square, you pause, and then you hit square, triangle, square, square, triangle, square. I think that's the combination. But, yeah, you can waste away on stasis and just kind of knock out impossible mode just a little bit easier. If you wanted to, of course. But I didn't go that road. Because I'm a simpleton. No, I just wanted to do, like, a regular run. So what I did here was I ran out and I had these guys kind of spawn and ran back into the elevator because I feel like it's much safer in here than it is just to kind of get, you know, swarmed up on and what have you. So, yeah, just, you know, shoot away, blast some grenades in there, knock them out clean. Easy take. However, there is something that I should mention real fast is this is a checkpoint. That elevator that we just got out of right now is the checkpoint. So if you are to die anywhere from between now and I think up to the fire part, if you know what I'm talking about, like the part where you come back and you got to take the battery back to the other side again and everything's kind of on fire, you're going to get back to the elevator. I think that's all within that same checkpoint. Maybe I'm wrong about how far it is, but I know I do die at a specific part, and it does, you know, send me back to the elevator. I think it's okay. Maybe it's before you head down the other small elevator. It might be before that, or might somewhere around there, around this area. You know, you die here, you're going back to the elevator. Also, when you come to this bench, fair warning, it seems to happen every time without fail. When you come to this bench, there's going to be a slasher that's going to spawn to your right, immediately right after. So, after you get done with all your benching and stuff, doing your deadlift, oh, not your deadlifts, what the fuck am I talking about? After you get done doing, you know, your bench presses and what have you, just run straight to your left, dodge, you know, the hit, dodge the potential grab. He shouldn't hit you, for the most part, if you're running. If you do get hit, I'm sorry. But from what I've seen, like, it seems like he never really lands his shots very much. So that's good. Also, do not come in here first. Like, maybe, like, take a step into the doorway and then run out. Because these guys are going to spawn. And you definitely don't want to get hit by these. Because I did, and I died. And I went back to that checkpoint again. So, yeah. One could say I did hit the checkpoint, but okay, that's a lame joke. To explain the context, for anybody that doesn't know, that was an old co-op channel of mine that sadly died. Although it never really had much of a chance anyway, just like anything else we've ever done co-op-wise. But that's neither here nor there. That's just an old dead-ass channel. But you can find that channel, if you were curious about my other... little bastard. If you're curious about my other... Oh, I'm learning level 3 suit, not 2. Yeah, if you're curious about all that other stuff, you can go check out my main channel, which should be in the description below. And then go from there, and then go to my channels page on there, on my main channel, and then they should be there. So, yeah, but co-op stuff never works. Never do co-op channels, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of the time, they don't work out. So, keep that in mind. Unless you yourself want to do all the work. And if you're fine with that, you know, that's fine and dandy. But yeah, now we finally got the level 4 suit. I thought we had 2, but I was sadly mistaken. That's just unfortunate because, you know, I make a lot of mistakes. I think this is a level 4 suit. It's actually pretty nice. I like how it's coming together, and that's the thing I like about Dead Space 1's suits is, even though they're pretty basic, I like Dead Space 2 suits a lot because they change up the designs of every suit, which is really cool. And they come with, you know, specific attributes, which is something else I want to talk about in a second. But I like Dead Space 1's, like, armor that you get, you know, as you continuously upgrade, you eventually get, like, better armor and stuff. So it's quite nice. But in terms of Dead Space 2, I recently bought it on PC finally, and I've been running through it, and for some reason, it has all these different guns for free, like unlocked, all these suits for free. And I'm confused as to why. I never had an... I didn't use like an EA account or anything, and I log in with one. I didn't... I'm sure I have one, I just never fucking know it or use it. So... Yeah, like, I don't know what's up with it, but for some reason it just... I went to the store and I had all these free suits and all these free guns with different attributes. Like, literally like 2 to 3 different pulse rifles that you can play with. And I was confused as hell, and I'm like, I just wanted to play a normal playthrough again, man. I don't do this. So, I don't know. I bought it on, PC. It wasn't on sale or anything. It was like $20. I just really like Dead Space 2. Alright, in this area, as you saw, I started doing the puzzle first thing first. Also, look at this. If I remember correctly, I think this was the very recording where things kind of got messy. Yeah, I just do the puzzle first and then jump to the top of the ceiling immediately right after because these guys take forever to spawn, so I'm not going to bother with them. These are super leapers, and they suck major amounts of cock. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily, but these guys specifically suck dirty cock. So, unless you're into that, then I don't know. I'm not into dirty cock, so I'm into clean cock. Great, now I sound like an asshole. Look, fuck, whatever. It's just a dumb joke, shut up. Anyway, so Super Leapers, they tend to have this weird buff where they can, if you were to shoot one with the force gun secondary shot, they have a chance, your grenades have a chance to go through the enemy. Yeah, that's a cool buff, isn't it? Yeah, that's great. I don't know if that was an edited part where I died and then had to go back through it again. I don't know. But yeah, that happened to me. And I don't think it's going to be in this video. I don't think it's in this. Yeah, I think it's this guy right here. But basically, yeah, I just kind of, yeah, see this? Look. I'm shooting directly at him. Okay, a couple of them might have. Yeah, look, I'm shooting through him. What the hell? So, when it comes to the Super Leapers, not much has changed besides they're just a little bit more tanky. So at this point in time, you probably dealt with enough Leapers. But like I said, I just do the puzzle first. I shoot the first wheel or whatever, and then I go up to the second mechanism up above on the ceiling, and then let them spawn in, and then take out those first two, run out, grab more stasis or whatever, or just run out in general, and then just to kind of get my bearings back to normal. Run back in, and then the other one should spawn. There should only be 3, and I believe there's a lurker that spawns later. I think there's one that spawns on top of the meteor or the whatever this is itself. This gigantic rock. Because yeah, I believe he spawns outside, which kind of makes it hard to fight enemies outside because you can't hear very well outside, so you don't know when they're coming in or whatever. But yeah, there should be 2 of them. And if you do get hit, I think you get hit out of the animation, so just be careful of that. And also, of course, be careful of the giant, spinning death trap that, will literally kill you if you touch it. So be careful of that. Don't even bother with, touching it while it's not moving either, just in case. But there should be 2 lurkers. And I guess, there was just the one, but there should be another one somewhere around here. If you want, of course, you could just, avoid them outright and not deal with them. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm being a silly willy and just for some reason trying to just run in there and knock him. But yeah, it looks like he got killed with a death trap. So there's that. I'd say take out the 2 lurkers first and then worry about putting on the rocket. And there should be O2 out here, I think. Okay, maybe not. I'm thinking of a remake again. God damn it. This is what happens. This is what happens when you play the other game too much. Which reminds me, I did play the RE4 demo. And I did make a video of myself, first impressions wise. I mean, I was like... I did get like a minute in before I did the video, but... To be fair, it's still, for the most part, relatively blind. At least in terms of RE4 remake demo is. I'm not blind to RE4. I know how that game works. But... yeah, so far my thoughts are, I think it's going to be pretty damn cool. I think it's going to be pretty good. it's definitely going to be harder. I can see that being a thing. It definitely seems like it's going to be a bit harder, and I'm kind of ready to see that. I'm ready to see what professional mode is going to have in store. Whether or not I do a remake guide later in the future might happen. I don't know. Same thing with Dead Space. You know, I would love to do an Impossible Mode Dead Space remake run, but every time I've done a run, the game either glitches or I die. Also, this motherfucker just somehow avoids my shots too. I don't know what's going on. Dead Space just hates me all of a sudden. Yeah, I've still not beaten Impossible Mode for the remake yet because the game refuses to let me win. It's so damn annoying. It's like, come on, man. I spend like the next 6 to 7 hours playing a whole ass game, and then next thing I know, the game either freezes, bugs, glitches out. I can't get through because the elevator shut down. You know, it's just shit after shit, and it's so annoying. And I really wish they would fix it. It's a good game of the year worthy, but God, the glitches are annoying. But granted, Dead Space has seemingly always had glitches, as you can see right here, where it just seems to just never want me to grab things or shoot enemies, I guess. These games are not the most polished, but for the most part, the older games at least work most of the time. I definitely know for a fact I can make it through an entire playthrough of Dead Space 1 just fine. So there's at least that. But with Remake, you know, it seems like every time it's just a fight to hope that, you know, the game doesn't stop me from winning, I guess. Alright, this next section is a bit tricky too. Not too tricky, but just a little bit annoying, I guess. And in which, one side will always be on fire while the other one won't. So just, you know, kind of keep an eye out for that. Do not touch the fire. I mean, as tempting as it might sound, do not touch the fire, because you will burn, and you will probably be close to dying. So just don't do it. And if you have a lower tier suit, you might die. So just don't do it. Don't be silly. Unless you wanted to. I mean, this is impossible on Dead Space Original, so you'll just go back to a checkpoint. It's not like you're gonna... It's not like you're gonna lose an entire playthrough just because you died once. I mean, that's not a thing in this game. No. Not at all. Alright, so with my leftover money that I basically end up getting and selling, I just kind of just buy ammo with it at this point because we're running a little bit low on funds for ammo. So, well, not funds, but we're running low on ammo in general. And I would like to have some more. Because, you know, things are going to get a little bit more irritating later on. And I just want to be prepared. Because I think the regenerator shows up, like, later. Maybe like a chapter or two ahead of here. Not like it really matters, because right now, I mean, we're basically having to deal with whatever we're dealing with right now, so. Oh, yeah, this room. That's probably one reason why I bought a bunch of ammo. It's because I remember this part. So, this room is another one of those cases of screw this room. And where I'm standing is I'm standing next to the node. No, I'm not. I'm standing on the other side. Okay, I was wrong. I'm standing on the opposite side of the node. I'm standing on this left corner, as you can see where the button was, and I'm just kind of pointing at the vent because you can see them coming through the vent too, which is pretty cool. And I take down the first slasher, and then I look immediately to my right because, of course, there's going to be one to my right. Why would there not be? This is Dead Space, of course. You know, of course, there's going to be one behind you. And there should be, I think, 2 to 3. Also, these are the super slashers. These ones that are a little bit more mucky and like, dirty looking. Like, they look like they're a lot more, like, oiled or something compared to the other counterparts. These ones are, like, the actual super slashers. So I think the other ones we were fighting before with the pants are just regular slashers. So I should probably just start calling them that from now on. But my recommendation is just stay in a corner, maybe preferably near the door. That way you have a better vantage on where your line of sight is, because the door has like a small little gap between the room and the door that you can kind of like stand in and just have a good view, a somewhat small view of where they're at, and just kind of like, you know, do what I did and just look at that first vent, and then after that, you know, look to your right, and there should be one that spawns. The order might change, and if it does, something else to keep in mind is just another tip I can give is, like, of course, force gun, but on top of that, if you don't know where they're going to be at, you don't know where they're going to spawn in at, I recommend going to a corner. Any one of the 4 corners, that way, or even though that too, just maybe running around that like middle table as well. But the thing is, you really don't want to get them to all spawn in at once. You kind of want to make it to where you fight one after one after one rather than have all of them spawn. Unless you're confident in your skills, unlike me, and you're capable of like having them all spawn and then like take them out together, then that's something you could do too. But yeah, that room's just a little bit weird and a little janky with where enemies are gonna. It's not janky gameplay wise. It's just janky in terms of like where the hell you go. But yeah, I'm doing the same trick here as well, where I just kind of hang to the corners of the elevator to just kind of like have a better view of my peripherals around. And then upon entering this area to go back to the ship, we're gonna deal with the dividers. And this is once again where I feel like Force Gun is just one of the best guns, because it wipes out dividers with relatively, relative ease, it seems. It seems to do like at least one, maybe two shots worth, and just takes them down completely. And not only that, but like it hardly misses its shot, because it's pretty much just a blast, right into their face. So works out wonders. I think I upgraded speed, I think. But having just one damage upgrade on the Force Gun is just enough to kind of get you by. It really is really good at this late in the game. Which we're kind of like, over halfway through or something like that. So we're at least in the late game. But anyway, that's it for this episode. So I'll see you guys in Chapter 8. And as always, take care, everybody.